Hello guys, this is hopefully the final video I'll be making on Colloquium 1. This is about X-linked recessive pathology. Now let's go into the rules. Rule number 1, women are carriers and are not affected. Men are affected. What does affected mean? Remember, affected is always equal to sick. That's when you see somebody being colored in, right? Why is that so? Well, if you look at a normal female karyotype, the normal female karyotype states that a female has both 1 and 2 X chromosomes. So if she receives this X recessive allele, she will still be able to use the healthy X chromosome, so she will be unaffected from having this unhealthy X allele, just because it's almost like a reserve engine for female karyotypes. While for the male karyotypes, they only have 1 X chromosome. Therefore, if they receive this unhealthy allele and the X chromosome becomes ill or non-functioning, they will be immediately ill because this is the only X chromosome they have in their karyotype, and therefore if this one stops working, it will pretty much, they don't have any other X chromosome to rely on, they only have 1 Y. So that is why women can be carriers. They're still healthy if they have this type of karyotype. Well, males, if they are carriers, they are immediately affected because once they carry this, they can't rely on any other X, and therefore they will be immediately sick. Next question. If a mother is a carrier, there is a 1.5 chance that her children will inherit the recessive X, no matter if it's a male or a female child. Now, what does that mean? If we draw up a Punnett square, and the mother has this recessive X, the father has a normal karyotype, then we can see immediately that there is 1 and 2 out of 4 in total chances for a child of this combination to be receiving this ill X gene, right? If we're just talking about the woman, there is 1 chance out of 2 for a woman to be a carrier, while for males, there's 1 chance out of 2 for males to be carrying and to be affected. That's why if we know for sure that this woman is 100% a carrier, this woman right here will have a 50% chance to be a carrier, assuming that she doesn't have any healthy sons, but we'll get to that later. Well, this son, and why did I draw him like this? This is because he is technically unborn. We know the gender, but we don't, it hasn't, the child hasn't been born yet, so we don't know if it's affected or unaffected, because if it's been born, we can immediately state, oh, well, this is 100% affected, this is 100% unaffected, so that means this one has it for 100% and this one does not. Remember, if a guy has the allele, he will be 100% sick because he only has 1 X chromosome to rely on. Well, a woman who's carrying the allele will not be sick. She's just going to be carrying it. So that's why once the guy is born, you will immediately know, does this guy have it? Then it's 100. Does he not have it? Then it's 0. This is just to represent the fact that it can be either this guy can either receive this X allele from the mom or this X allele, meaning he can be either or these 2 options. Okay, next question. If a father is a carrier, which means that he's sick, remember, if a guy has this ill X chromosome, that means that he's going to be affected, so colored in. There is a 100% chance that his daughter will inherit the recessive X, and a 0% chance that his son will inherit it. Why is this the case? Well, if we look at the Punnett square built up, we say that the woman has a normal karyotype, while the male has a recessive X. You see here that the only people who are affected are the people with double X's, or the female karyotypes. None of the male karyotypes are affected. And why is that? That's because when a female is born, she will receive one X from the father and one X from the mother. She's not going to receive both X's from the mom. That's not going to happen. It's going to be one X from the father and one X from the mother. So if the father's only X he can give is his one and only X, right? He can only give this X to his daughter. So if a father is affected, the daughter will 100% receive the affected X allele from her father, because this is the only X he can give her. There's no other option, and she has to receive one from the dad and one from the mom. While a guy from the dad can only receive his Y chromosome. So if the guy's Y chromosome is healthy and kicking, he will receive the Y chromosome from his dad and one X chromosome from his mom. So as long as the mom is healthy, the son will never be unhealthy. That's why this sickness is mom to son spread. It can also be mom to mom to mom, etc. But the one that is affected are the sons, and they always receive it from a mother. Because a father can't give it to their sons, because the father will only give the Y chromosome to the son, because the son has to get the Y chromosome from his dad and the X chromosome from his mom. So that's how that works. If we see a son that is yet to be unborn and they ask us, well, what is the possibility that he receives this unhealthy X from his dad, you assume it's 1-2. That would be wrong. It's actually 0%, because he will receive the Y chromosome from his dad, not the X. While the daughter is going to be 100%, because the daughter only receives the X chromosome from her dad. Here, if a mother is a carrier, there is a 1 out of 4 chance that the child will be affected. Okay? Now, why is that? Didn't we just learn that there's a 1/2 chance that her children will inherit the recessive X? Shouldn't it then be 1/2? Well, actually, we're talking about the chance for a child to be affected. Remember, if it's a girl that has the X chromosome, just like this one, she will not be affected. She will actually not be colored at all, because she has that extra X chromosome that is healthy, and therefore she will be healthy. She will not be affected at all. While a male person, if he receives it from his mother, he will 100% be affected, and then he will be colored in, right? So the probability in here for a male to be affected is 1 out of 4. That's why if they ask if a mother is a carrier, there's a 1/4 chance that the child will be affected, as long as we don't know the child's gender. So let's say we have a mother here and she has a child on her way, and we know for 100% certain that this mother is carrying one of those recessive X's. Then her child has a 1 out of 4 times her mother's chance to be carrying, which is 1. That is, of course, equals to 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4 chance to be affected, because the only way you can be affected is if you're a male and if you inherit the recessive X, which will be this. And that's 1/4. Okay, if there's no other way to know if a female is carrying the recessive X, assume she has 50% of her mother's phenotype, unless she has healthy sons. Now, this is where it gets a little bit complicated, but let's just look at this very simple tree right here. If we know for sure that this woman has 100% this karyotype, then her daughter will have 1/2 a chance. She will have 50% of whatever the mother has, so that will be 1/2 a chance, right? If the mother instead had 2/3 of a chance, the daughter would have 1/2 of 2/3. And what is 1/2 of 2/3? Remember, it's 1/3. If you have 2/3 of a pizza and you eat half of it, you will have 1/3 left. So anything the mother has, the daughter will have as well. So I'm just going to write 100 so that it's easier to remember. However, this is true as long as this daughter doesn't have healthy sons. As long as this is not here, she is going to be half of whatever the mother has. And I will explain to you why right here. This is where it gets complicated. All right, let's read. If the woman has sons and all of them are healthy, we have to do a Bayesian table. Remember, autosomal dominant, we have to do a Bayesian table for this woman's probability to be a carrier, where CP, this part, for carrier becomes 1/2, not 1.5, 1/2 by the power of the amount of healthy sons. So if you have one healthy son, it's going to be, one healthy son, it's going to be 1.5 by the power of 1, which is equal to 1.5. If it's 2 healthy sons, it's going to be 1/4 because you switch this out with a 2. Yeah. So let's look at this tree right here. Do we know for sure if this woman is a carrier or not? Yes, we do, because she has these sons. All right, so we know 100% that she is a carrier of this recessive X. Now we can see here that she has a healthy son. So don't we do a Bayesian table for her? Because, you know, the woman has to have healthy sons. That's why we do the Bayesian table. However, all of them have to be healthy. So we need to be very unsure that this is true. However, we know that this is true because the sons are unhealthy right there. So the only way for this son to be receiving an X chromosome, and the X chromosome is unhealthy, is if his mother has it, both of them. Because the other chromosome that these sons have is a Y, and the Y comes from the dad, the X comes from the mom. So if the X is the one that is unhealthy, it's going to be 100% the mom that has the karyotype. But let's look at this daughter right here. This daughter will, of course, have 1/2 of whatever the mother has, so it's 1 out of 2, right? Well, not really. Why? Because she has a healthy son. So what does that mean? That means that this daughter, if she had 1/2 of a chance to have this really unhealthy X allele, what is the probability that she has a healthy son? We are starting to cast doubts on this number. Is this really true? Can she really have this high of a chance when she has given birth to a son that is healthy? And that is why we are doing the Bayesian table. So for the Bayesian table, everything we do right here, except for the conditional probability for the carrier type, everything we do right here is exactly the same as you do with autosomal dominant inheritance types. Okay, exactly the same. The only difference is going to be the CP. Okay, for the prior probability is going to be whatever the mom has divided by 2, which is 1/2. So 1/2. For the prior probability of a non-carrier, that's of course means that this whole area, it has to be equal to 1. Remember from last time, it's just exactly the same. So this has to say 1/2 here. For conditional probability, this is the only thing that is different. Remember, conditional probability, CP, is 1/2 by the power of amount of healthy sons. So if she has one healthy son, it's going to be 1/2 by the power of one healthy son, which is equal to 1/2. And for non-carrier type, if you're not carrying any unhealthy, what is the chance that you will get healthy sons? That is, of course, 100. Oh, that's a crooked one. Well, that's even. There we go. There is a 100% chance that if you're carrying this, your sons will be happy and healthy, right? Joint probability is this times this, so let's just do that right now. 1/2 times 1/2 equals to 1/4. And then the joint probability of these two, 1 times 1/2, that's 1/2. But we want to convert it so that the denominator is the same as this denominator. And how do we do that? We take 2/4, because 2/4 is the same as 1/2. And what do we do for posterior probability? We look at the numerator on the left side. We put that on the top, divided by the numerator on the left side again, plus the numerator on the right side. We have to ignore this one, of course. It's very important that both of these denominators are the same for this to be able to work. So that's 1 divided by 1 plus 2, and that is 1/3. So what does that mean? This means that this woman has an updated probability of her carrying a red X chromosome, which is 1/3, and that is lower than half. Okay. Yeah, 1/3. Let's just do that. And the only way, the only time you use Bayesian table is when you're following two rules. If you're unsure of the probability that the mother is a carrier, i.e. you go according to this, you know that she is 100% a carrier, so we're not unsure about her, but her we're unsure about. We know that she has half a chance of receiving this allele, right? So she will have half a chance. We're unsure about her, so that knocks off the first precondition. The second precondition is that she has one or more healthy sons, which she does have. In that case, we are casting doubt on the previous condition or the previous probability of her having this horrible X chromosome. And therefore, we're making a Bayesian table. If you remember, in autosomal dominant, the only preconditions we had was that we were unsure of the probability that somebody is a carrier. But in this case, we have to have both that and the fact that she has healthy sons. We cannot only go according to this, because then the calculations will be wrong. Here we go. If you remember this, this is from autosomal recessive. The idea about population frequency for a person who comes from population with no pedigree tree, right? However, in the last time, the population frequency was 2pq, that's this for heterozygous population frequency. But if you get something from the question, let's say it says 1 out of 10,000 people are affected or are sick by this sort of illness, 1 out of 10,000, then that 1 out of 10,000 affected will represent Q by the power of 2. It means you're homozygous and you're sick. You have 2 recessive alleles. 2 of them, because you needed both of them in order to be sick for autosomal recessive, right? You couldn't if you just had one, you wouldn't be sick. You needed both of them in order to be sick or affected. That's why when they ask about affected, you're taking the allele of one unhealthy allele times 2 pretty much. So 2 of them, that means that it's Q by the power of 2. So in order to get only Q, the sick allele frequency, you needed to take the square root of the number of affected. So if this is Q by the power of 2, this would be just normal Q because you just took the square root of that. And if you now calculated this, which would be 1 out of 100, you would then immediately know what P was, because Q plus P always equals to 1. So you can just take 1 minus Q to get P. And if you have P and Q, you can calculate this, which is what we always want. We always want to know about 2PQ. However, for X-linked recessive, this is completely different. Not completely, but we're still interested in knowing what 2PQ is. But we're talking about X-linked recessive here. We're not talking about autosomal allelic pathology. So in this case, a person will be sick as long as he is A, a man, and B, has the sick allele from the woman. So as soon as the question says something like, okay, so 1 in 1,000 men are affected, this last time represented Q by the power of 2. However, in this case, the only way for a man to be affected is if he had only one X. He only needs one X in order to be affected. While here, you needed 2 small alleles in order to be affected, recessive alleles, that is. So here you only need 1. Therefore, when they say 1 out of 1,000 is affected, you don't take the square root out of this. You don't need to do that at all. That's because this is immediately representing Q. Not Q by the power of 2, only Q. And that is because we only need 1 for a man to be affected. So if they say 1 out of 1,000 is affected, you must always assume we're talking about Q, not Q by the power of 2. And if we know that P plus Q is 100, and 100 minus Q is P, we can immediately say, not 100. That doesn't work. 1 is a lot better. There we go. 1 minus Q, which we know is just the same as the number of affected, which is equal to 999 by 1,000. And remember, P can almost always be rounded up to 1. Now, if we know what P is and we know what Q is, we can calculate this. So let's look at this tree right here. We know for certain that this woman is 100% can you call her heterozygous? Heterozygous, I guess. She has this X chromosome that is affecting both of her kids. Why do we know that she's 100%? Because the only way for these kids to get an X chromosome is if they got it from their mother, right? What they got from their father is Y. So they couldn't have gotten it from the dad. They got it from their mom. This guy is healthy because he's not affected, right? He's not filled in with a color. This woman, however, is from the population. She stands for 2PQ. So that's why we can just take 2 times P times Q to get the possibility that she is a carrier. So P is 1 times Q is 1 out of 1,000 times 2, which is equal to 2 out of 1,000 or 1 out of 500. So she has a 1 out of 500 chance to be carrying this X-linked chromosome, and therefore has a chance to give it to their kid. Of course, if we calculate this, remember, it's going to be the mom's chance that she's a carrier times the chance that this is an affected kid. And how do we do that? If the mother is a carrier, there is a 1 out of 4 chance that the child will be affected. Why? Because the only people who are affected is the male people, has to be a male and has to inherit a recessive X. So it's 1 out of 4 different types. Therefore, we multiply this by 1 out of 4 and we get 1 out of 2,000 chance that this guy gets affected. Okay, final rule, and this is a big exception. It is very important for you who is going to be stuck on an X-linked recessive calculation, and you forget the fact that we're talking about an exception here. This, oh God, what was it called? Haldane's law. This is what we call Haldane's law. And it's an exception if we have 2 preconditions. Number 1, the illness we're talking about is lethal. This can either be written in the question or we know it by the fact that the person is deceased. It has this deceased mark. Or B, it only affects 1 male out of the entire pedigree tree. So we can see here 1 male is affected out of the entire pedigree tree. That means that, and it's lethal because he's been crossed out. That means that we're going according to Haldane's law. It's an exception. And in that case, I would say mothers instead of first degree relatives. Mother is 2/3. Because I'm not really that sure about first degree relatives. I'm not sure if this law applies to them. I just know that it applies to her. And I think that's what's going to be important for colloquium. So for her, she will be 2/3 or have a 2 out of 3 chance of carrying this X-linked recessive allele. Why? Why is it 2/3? I don't know. But I know that our professor said that it's easier to just memorize it than to know why it's 2/3. So just try to memorize this exception. Okay, Haldane's law, if it's lethal, if it only affects 1 male, that means that the mother of the affected child will be 2/3 heterozygous, or have 2/3 a chance of carrying this X-linked recessive allele. Now her mother has, you will assume, okay, well that has to be 50% of this, right? Because it goes 1 step. It's a first degree relative, so it's 1 out of 3. That would be wrong. Why? Because the mom has to have had 2 out of 3 chance in order to give the child a 2 out of 3 chance. She couldn't have gotten double the amount as the child because that's impossible. But let's say this child had a 50% chance of receiving what this person had, then we know for certain that she just received exactly what this person had. So that's why we can't do 50% because that wouldn't make sense. A mother can't have 1 out of 3 chance of having X-linked recessive, and then her daughter having a bigger chance. That does not work. Instead, she has the exact same as her daughter. Okay, now finally we can get into calculations. Jesus Christ, I'm so tired. Okay, calculate 5 1's chance to be affected. 5 1. This is generation 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So write that. Their chance to be affected. Now we don't know the gender of this, but remember, in order to be affected, you need to be A, male, and B, carrying. You need to be carrying one of these recessive X's. And for that to happen, we go according to the law. There is a 1 out of 4 chance that the child will be affected, because we look at this Punnett square. There is a 1 out of 4 chance for this child to be affected, because this does not count as affected. It counts as a carrier, because a woman is not going to be sick if she has this karyotype. However, a male is going to be sick if he has that karyotype. That's why it has to be a male, and it has to have that karyotype. And that's 1 out of 4 chances there. So we know immediately we can multiply whatever we have for the mother, however much she is, her chance of carrying a recessive X chromosome is, we can multiply that by 1/4 to see what's the chance of the child to be affected. Okay, I made this a little bit easier for us. We see here Abby, Ben, Charlie, Danny, Eric, Fred, and Greta. These are our important people. We also have their mother called Miss X. These are the only important people in this whole pedigree tree. Why is that? Why isn't this person as important? Well, first of all, we do know for sure that this person is 100% carrying an X, this X allele, because the child is, right? If the child is carrying, he is carrying, the only way he could have gotten this X was from his mother. The only thing he gets from his father is his Y. We know that it's X-linked recessive disorder. That means that the X is the one that's damaged. So 100% here. Don't we just assume immediately that this person has a 50% chance? No. And why is that? Well, we have to look at this person right here. In order for this person to have been sick, there's no woman here, there's no population chance for this person to have gotten it from the population outside. This person could have only gotten it from this family tree, because it goes from this daughter to this daughter to this son. Therefore, this daughter must have had it 100%. And if this daughter has it for 100%, the only way she could have gotten it, this X, is from her mother. She gets an X from her father as well, but you see, the father is healthy, so he only has healthy X's to give. The mother would be the only one to have unhealthy X's, so she would be 100% a carrier as well. So that's why it's important to not just look up. You also have to look down and be able to assume for a lot of steps. Now, if we look at this pedigree tree, shouldn't we just immediately assume that we have to do a Bayesian table for this woman? Because technically she has 2 healthy sons, so shouldn't we just do a Bayesian table here? Remember the 2 conditions for a Bayesian table. We have to first have healthy sons, but then we have to be unsure of the probability that the mother is a carrier. So we have to be unsure. But in this case, we are 100% sure that this person is a carrier. Why? Because she must have given it to this person, and this person must have given it to this person, because there's no way this person could have gotten it from his dad, and there's no way this person could have gotten it from her dad, because the dads are both healthy. So we're not unsure, therefore we don't do a Bayesian table. So just because you see healthy sons doesn't mean you do Bayesian table, okay? Next up is going one step down to Danny. Danny has, of course, 1 out of 2 chances of having that X-linked linked recessive allele that she gets from her mother. Is this all we do for Danny? Remember, when we apply Bayesian tables, we do it for women who has sons, where all of them are healthy, and when we are unsure of the probability that the mother is a carrier. Let's go back. Are we sure that the mother is a carrier? Are we 100% sure? No, we're half sure. So we're therefore unsure if she's a carrier. And let's look at her children. She has Eric and Fred. Both are healthy. She doesn't have a single affected kid. Therefore, we have to draw her a Bayesian table. So let's do an arrow like this. Carrier, non-carrier, prior probability, conditional probability, joint probability, and posterior probability. Her chance to have a posterior probability is, of course, going to be half of whatever the mom has. And if the mom has 100, she has 1/2. The two of these have to be the sum of 1. So if that is true, then that also has to be 1/2. Conditional probability is amount of sons. Let's see here. Oh, sorry. 1 out of 2 by the power of amount of healthy sons. And in this case, it's 1 and 2, both Eric and Fred. So therefore, we take 1.5 by the power of 2, which is equal to 1 out of 4. Why is that true? We just take 1, 2 times 1, 2. This is equal to 1, 2 by the power of 2, right? And that is 1/4. So 1/4 there. What is the conditional probability? If you're not a carrier, that's of course 1. It's a 100% certainty that your children are going to be healthy if you're not carrying anything bad. Joint probability is 1.5 times 1/4, which, let me just write it down so it's easier to follow, which is equal to 1/8. And here it's 1/2 times 1, and that's going to be 1/2. Posterior probability, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. We need to equalize the nominators here. So the only way to do that is if we have 8 on the bottom here, and what is 1/2 of 8? That's 4. So this is the same as this. So let's forget about it, and let's remember this thing. Now, what do we do for posterior? We have the left side, numerator. No, wait. Numerator. The numerator on the left side divided by the numerator on the right side, plus again the numerator on the left side. And this will be 1 out of 5. So this woman has an updated probability. It's not 1/2 anymore. It's 1 out of 5 chance that she will be a carrier of that X chromosome. Going down to this woman has half of what her mom has. So if her mom has 1/2, what does she have? Of course, she has 1/10. Do we do a Bayesian table for this woman? No, we don't, because she doesn't have any healthy sons. No healthy sons, no Bayesian table. It's just that simple. So we just assume that she has half of what her mom has, because that's one of the rules. If there are no other way to know if a female is carrying the recessive X, assume she has 50% of her mother's phenotype, unless she has healthy sons. Because she doesn't have healthy sons, we assume she has 50% of what her mother has. And to make things easier for people to understand, that's why I wrote she has 1/2 of this, which is 1/10. So now we know the mother's probability to be a carrier. We can put it down here. And remember, this was the probability. Oh, what's that? 0. And remember, this was the probability for this child to be born affected. Because if we look at the Punnett square, the only way a child could be affected if it's born a male, and that it inherits a recessive X. So it's this. So it's 1 out of 4. Let's see here. There we are. And this is, of course, equal to 1 out of 40. There's a fly on my face. Okay. Perfect. Let's actually do some e-studies calculation examples. So here we have an X-linked recessive disorder. So we can immediately conclude that this is XR. We want to calculate the probability for 4-2 to be a heterozygous mutation carrier. Mutation carrier, not affected. That means that this person is probably a female. So let's see. 4-2, that's this person. And now we want to calculate her probability to be a mutation carrier. Now let me just bring up my phone to make sure that I'm not doing or making any mistakes. 1 second. Here we go. All right, let's see. Can we for sure conclude what kind of phenotype she has? No, we can't. So we go up to her mother and dad. Dad is not interesting, but we know for sure that he must be XY, the same as any guy that's healthy is healthy. That's just that simple. If he's carrying, he's unhealthy. If he's healthy, he's not carrying. 0% chance on all of these guys, right? Okay. Now we look at the mother instead. Is there some way to say that this mother is 100% carrying a X-linked recessive chromosome? No, there is not. But this mother, we can say that she is 100% a carrier because she has a affected son. So if we look at one of the rules again, well, we don't have it on the rules, but we'll just explain it again. If this guy has a Y that he gets from his dad and an X that he gets from his mom, and it's an X-linked recessive disorder, so it's the X that is the issue, and he is sick, that means that his X is a problem. He gets the Y chromosome from his dad because he can't get the X chromosome from his dad since he is a male. He has a male karyotype. And he receives the X chromosome from his mom. That's why we know for sure that the mom is 100% carrying an X chromosome, because the only way for this child to have gotten it is if it got it from his mom. Every child here, this child, even this child for his mother, every child has gotten it from their mom. That's just 100% true. So he got it from his mom, so we know his mom is 100% carrying this X. So now we can look at this woman right here, and she's the daughter of that mom. What is the chance that she receives an X allele, this X allele? That is, of course, half of what the mother has. So 1/2, right? Is that everything for this woman? Remember when we do the Bayesian table. We do a Bayesian table if we're unsure of the probability that mother is a carrier and if she has healthy sons or even one healthy son. So we're unsure if she's a carrier, there's not a 100% certainty, and she has a healthy son. So what do? We do a Bayesian table for this woman right here. So let's draw it like this. Make it bigger. So carrier, non-carrier, prior probability, conditional, joint, posterior. So the chance that she is a carrier, the prior chance is of course half of what her mother has, and that would be 1/2. 1/2 here, and because this has to be the sum of 1, it has to be 1/2 over here as well. The conditional probability is always 1/2 by the power of amount of healthy sons. So if there's 1 healthy sons, it's going to be 1/2 by the power of 1. That is equal to 1/2. For non-carriers, if you're not carrying anything bad, there's a 100% chance that your sons are not going to be affected. Joint probability is this times this. So we just take 1, 2 times 1, 2, and that is equal to 1, 4. Here it's 1, 2. But since we want the denominator to be exactly the same, we convert this to 2/4. That way the denominators can be exactly the same. We forget about this one. So now we do the posterior probability. And the posterior probability is going to be the numerator for the left on the left side divided by the numerator on the right side plus the numerator on the left side again. And that's going to be 1/3. So the updated chance for this woman to be carrying is actually 1/3, not 1/2. Now we're interested at 4/2. So what is the chance that she will be carrying one of those recessive alleles? That's of course half of what the mother has. So if the mother has 1/3, what is 1/2 of 1/3? 1/6. So this woman here has 1/6 chance to be carrying that recessive allele. And why don't we do a Bayesian table for her? That's because she doesn't have any healthy sons. So we don't do any Bayesian table for her even though we're unsure about her carrier type. So here we write 1/6. Yeah. All right, next question. What is the probability for 5 to have affected child? So 4 is over here. 5 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're talking about this woman right here. And we're asking what is her probability to have a child that is affected, right? So we know for sure that this guy is 100% affected. Oop. Remember, if a male is affected, what does that say about his daughters? Let's look up the rules right here. If a father is a carrier, sick, there's a 100% chance that his daughter will inherit the recessive X and 0% chance that his son will inherit it. Why? Because the daughter gets 1X from her mom and 1X from her dad. And if the dad only has one bad X to give, that's going to be the one that he gives to his daughter. That's why she's going to be 100% a carrier. So in this case, and let's scroll down. In this case, this daughter is going to be oh god, this daughter of this sick guy, he's going to be giving away this X chromosome to this daughter and this X chromosome to that daughter. So she will be 100% this X chromosome carrier. And remember about affected males, if the question asks about what chance it is for the child to be affected, it's 1 out of 4. Why? Because the only ones who can be affected are men. And if we draw a Punnett square, we can see that the male affected ones are 1 out of 4. Has to be a male and has to inherit the recessive X. So we take the mother's chance to be, scroll down. We take the mother's chance to be a carrier, which is 100, and we multiply that by 1/4. Maybe 100 isn't the best. Let's do 1 right there. Otherwise, it would have been too high. So this is equal to 1/4. So the answer to the next question is, of course, 1 in 4. Final question for this is, what is the chance for 4/7 to be a heterozygous mutation carrier? So 4/7 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's this person right here. So what is the chance for this person to be a mutation carrier? All right, let's look up. Is there any chance to see what sort of phenotype these people have? No. But we know for sure that her mother is 100% a carrier. Why? Because she has a son that is a carrier, and the son could have only gotten his X that is affected from his mom, because the other chromosome he gets is from his dad. So the X chromosome he gets from his mom. So that means if he's affected, the mom is 100% carrying that. So what is the chance for this mom to be carrying it? It's of course 1/2 of whatever her mom had. Do we do a Bayesian table here for this mom? Because remember, this mom, they have the exact same mom. They're all sisters. She also had a 1.5 chance to be a carrier. But then we did the Bayesian table. Don't we have to do the same for this mom? Well, not really, because this mom doesn't have any healthy sons. But this mom does have healthy sons, which casts doubt on the fact that she is that high of a chance to be a recessive carrier. So that's why we assume that this is true. We don't do a Bayesian table for this mom because she doesn't have any healthy sons. Remember, when do we do Bayesian tables? We do it when we're unsure of the probability that the mother is a carrier, and we do it when she has healthy sons, which this mother does not. All right, now what is the chance for this mother to be a carrier? That is, of course, 1/2 of her mother's, which is going to be, what is 1/2 times 1/2? That's 1/4. So in order for this mother to be a carrier, she has 1 in 4 chance to be one. Do we do a Bayesian table for her? No, because she doesn't have any healthy sons, just like her mother. So the answer for this one is going to be 1/4 as well. All right, that's it for this question. Let's go down to the next question, and then we do the final 2. So we have confirmed that it's an XR disease. And we ask, what is the chance for 3-2 to be a heterozygous mutation carrier? So we go down, 3-2 is 1-2. It's this one right here. So what is the chance for her to be a heterozygous mutation carrier? What do we know about her parents? First of all, they're deceased, which is unfortunate for her. But second of all, we know that this mother has a sick son, which is her brother. So this son has one of those X chromosomes that he must have only gotten from his mom. Why? Because she's the only one that gives the son an X chromosome. The dad gives the son his Y chromosome. So the bad X chromosome this guy has gotten must have come from his mom. So we know that his mom is 100%, 100% a carrier. What about her now? Of course, we just take half of what the mom has, and half of 100 is 1/2. There we go. Is that all we have to do for this person? No. So when do we apply Bayesian tables again? We apply Bayesian tables when we're unsure of the probability that the mother is carrier and when she has healthy sons, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or all of them. So here we can see that this mother has 2 healthy sons. Therefore, we will apply a Bayesian table. But you say, wait a minute, shouldn't we do the same for this mother because she has two healthy sons here? Well, no, because we know for sure that she has 1 affected son, and that is enough. We don't need to apply a Bayesian table for a mother that has 1 affected son, because we know for sure that the X chromosome that we get from the affected son is 100% from his mom, because the Y he gets from the dad, the broken X he gets from his mom. Therefore, even though the mom has healthy sons, we are not going to apply a Bayesian table because we know for sure that she's 100% a carrier. For this mom, we apply a Bayesian table because A, we don't know for sure that she is 100% a carrier. She doesn't have any affected sons. And B, she has healthy sons. So therefore, we do a Bayesian table for her. Carrier, non-carrier. So her prior probability is going to be half of what her mother has, which is 1/2. And of course, on the other side, we do 1/2 because these two have to be equal to 1. The conditional probability is going to be the amount, where 1/2 by the power of the amount of healthy sons. And we have 2 healthy sons. That means by the power of 2. And 1, 2 times 1, 2 equals 1, 4. So that's 1 out of 4. Here the conditional probability is going to be 1. Always 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. If you still have issues about it, please look at my autosomal dominant video as well and how you do Bayesian tables there. Joint probability is this times this, so that's going to be 1/2 times 1/4. That's of course 1/8. Well, here it's 1/2 because it's this times this. However, remember we want the nominators to be the same here on the bottom. So that means we do an 8 on the bottom here. That means we have to have a 4 there because this is the same as this. All right, next up is building our potential probability. And we take the numerator on the left side, which is 1, and then this one we ignore, divided by the numerator on the right side, which is 4, plus the numerator on the left side, which is 1. This will be 1/5. So the chance for her to be a carrier is 1/5. That's her new and improved chance, just because she has these kids. Was it 3? Yeah, 3/2. So we're done with the first question. 3/2 will be 1 out of 5. Now 2/3. What is the chance for 2/3 to be a heterozygous mutation carrier? So let's look at 2/3. Oh, here we go. 1, 2, 3. It's this one. Is it? 210. What? Am I blind? 210. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're looking at this person right here. Let's mark her. So the chance for her to be a heterozygous mutation carrier. All right? I'm going to let you guys think about this really for a long time. For a long time, because I was wrong when I went through this for the first time. So think about it for a while. I'm going to tell you the wrong way first. So the wrong way is you're looking at the closest affected relatives. You know that they have a X chromosome. That means that they must have gotten it from their mom, right? Because they could have only gotten the Y chromosome from their dad. The mom is 100% a mutation carrier. Now this is correct. You're doing a correct thing here. The only thing is, unfortunately, it's also unnecessary. But I'll tell you why later. So you're taking half of what her chance is and you're applying it on her daughter, which is here, 1/2, right? And then you look down at the daughter and you see that, and be careful with this one. This one is, of course, not a son, but she has 2 healthy sons. So you do a Bayesian table right here, and it's going to look exactly like this one looks, because this one also had 2 healthy sons, and you're going to get the answer 1/5 here, just like you did with the last one. So 1/5. I'm going to tell you why this is wrong. If you look down, you can see that there are some people here that are affected. And remember, the only way guys can be affected is if they have gotten a recessive allele or a recessive mutation from their mom. Because remember, guys have this karyotype, and the only way for this to have happened is if the dad gave them the Y, so the X must have been given from the mom. So we know for sure that she's 100% a carrier, right? So what does it tell us about this woman? Where did this woman get her recessive mutated X? Did she get it from her mom, or did she get it from her dad? Remember, she could have only gotten it from her dad had the dad been colored in. Because if the dad had the X mutation, he would have given it to his daughter, sure, but then he also would have been affected by it. But since the dad is not affected, we know for damn sure that this dad has that type of karyotype. So the only other possible parent who could have given their daughter this mutated X is this woman right here. Therefore, we know for sure she doesn't have 1/2 chance. She doesn't have 1/5 chance. This woman has 100% chance that she's carrying this karyotype. Now let's rewind and let's redo it. We go according to these people. These people got their Ys from their dad because they're male, and their X from their mom. And if they got their X from the mom and the X is unhealthy, then the mom is 100% a carrier. This woman right here could have gotten an X from her dad and an X from her mom. But had this been from her dad, had the dad had this and given her this, then the dad would have been affected because he would have had the mutation. However, because the dad isn't affected, we know for sure that this dad is healthy. Therefore, the only way for this woman to have gotten this affected X is from her mom. And that's a 100% certainty. So we can answer this 100%. Next question is for 1, which is this person, I think. Am I doing it right? 4-1, yep. So what is the chance for this person to be a heterozygous mutation carrier? So we've already calculated the mom's probability. We know that the mom's probability is 1 out of 5. We got that from our Bayesian table. Why did we do Bayesian table for the mom? That's because she has 2 children that are male that are unaffected, therefore casting doubt on her initial 1/2 probability that she got from this mom. So that is her new and improved probability. Her daughter will also get 1/2 of what her mom has. And what is 1/2 of 1/5? That is 1 out of 10. So the daughter will have 1 out of 10 chance to be a carrier of this X mutation. Do we do a Bayesian table on the daughter? No, because the daughter doesn't have any healthy sons. Therefore, we just assume the 50% that she got from her mom. So now we can answer this question. 1 out of 10. Next question, what is the chance for 7 to have an affected child? So let's look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, that's true. 4, 7. So right here, we can see that these people are twins, but they're not monozygote twins. Otherwise, it would have looked like this. So we're not interested in anything except to see what this person has. So let's look at their parents. The parents right here, what can we say about them? Nothing really, except for the fact that this is the daughter of her. We're always going back to this woman right here. All the drama after you're deceased. So what do we put here? Of course, we put 1/2 of what the previous mother had, which would be 1/2, because 1/2 of 100% is 1/2. Now, what do we put here? We, of course, put 50% of this, and 50% of that is what? 1/4. So she has 1/4 chance. Do we use a Bayesian table here? No, because we wonder, she has an unborn child and she doesn't have any unaffected sons. So therefore we don't use a Bayesian table. Instead, we calculate the probability for her to have an affected child. And remember, you can only be an affected child if you're A, a male, and B, inherit a recessive X, meaning that it's 1 out of 4 chance for you to be affected if your mom has or is a carrier. So in this case, it's the mom's probability, which is 1/4, times the probability that the person is affected, which is 1/4, and that is equal to 1/16. So we're done with that. And that is all for the normal calculations. I'm getting very tired. I can barely open my eyes. Let's go to the next one. Hunter syndrome, X-linked recessive lysosomal storage disorder caused by mutations in the IDS gene. Life expectancy of patients is 15 years of age. A healthy woman, 3'5", which is this woman right here, is at 18 weeks of gestation and wants to know probability to deliver an affected child. So what is the probability that her child will be affected? We remember the probability for an affected child is 1/4. Why? Because of the Punnett square, you need to be a male and you need to have the affected allele from, or the affected mutation from the mom. That is equal to 1/4, right? So 1/4 we know already, and we have to times that by the amount of chance, by the chance that this mom will be affected. So what do we do here? We start from this and we go up, right? We know for 100% sure that this woman has that X, mutated X, because this child is affected, right? Now remember one of our exceptions, the biggest exception we have. And that is if a disease is lethal, and if it only affects one male out of the entire pedigree tree, then the mother of that male will have 2 out of 3 chance of being of having the X linked recessive mutation. So if we look at this, the pedigree tree, out of the whole pedigree tree, there's only one that's affected, and you can see here that it's lethal because this patient is also crossed over. So we know for sure that it's lethal, and we know for sure that there's only one person that has been affected. That's why we go according to Haldane's law. So instead of this woman being 100%, she's now 2/3, according to Haldane's law. Why she is 2/3, remember, I don't know. All I know is that you're supposed to remember it according to Haldane's law. Okay, so she's 2/3 not affected, but she's 2/3 chance of carrying this mutant X. So what is the chance for this woman to be carrying it and giving it to this child, right? First of all, what is the chance for the mother? The mother is 2/3, or has a 2/3 chance. Why? Because in order for the child to have 2/3, the mother also has to have 2/3. There's no way the mother has double the amount, which is 4/3. In that case, it would be kind of weird. So the mother has 2/3 chance. The sibling here will then have 1/3 chance. It's easier to just assume that this is a 1-degree relative. Remember that sisters can also be 1st-degree relatives. So therefore, she will be half of whatever she has, right? And half of 2/3 is 1/3. Now going down, we look at this woman, or do we do something else? If your answer is Bayesian table, you have been paying attention. So this woman needs a Bayesian table. Why? Because she has a son that is affected, and we're unsure about her probability to be a carrier. So let's do a Bayesian table for her right here. Yeah. So the posterior probability is the probability she had from that 50% rule, which is 1/3. And of course, this has to be, or this plus this has to be 1. So what do we write here? We write 2/3, because 2/3 plus 1/3 is equal to 1. Next up, we write the conditional probability. And if you notice, this guy is not a son of hers. He's just the husband of her daughter. So a lot of people make the mistake and assume that just because they're in the same line, this guy is also her son. So that's why we do by the power of 2. But actually, there's only one son. So we do 1.5 by the power of 1 son, which is equal to 1.5. Remember, we always take 1.5 by the power of amount of sons that are healthy. In this case, it's 1 son that is healthy. Next up, conditional probability for non-carriers is of course always 100%. Joint probability is this times this. So that's going to be 1/3 times 1/2, which is equal to 1/6. And the probability here is 2/3 because it's this times this, right? And if we want to convert so the denominators are the same, we just take this times 2, equal to 4/6. Now down here, we take on the top the numerator on the left side, which is 1, and the numerator on the right side on the bottom plus the numerator on the left side. This will be equal to 1/5 chance posterior. So this woman here, oh God, not that woman, sorry. This woman here has 1 out of 5 chance, which is a new and improved chance of her being a carrier of that mutant X. Now going down to this woman has of course 50% chance of receiving it from this. And what is 50% of 1/5? That is of course 1 out of 10. So this woman has a 1 in 10 chance to have a mutant allele. So we take her chance times the chance for this child to be affected, which is 1/4. Remember, there's a 1/2 chance for him to be a male, and 1/2 chance for him to receive the mutant allele, which is equal to 1 out of 4. It's the same with the Punnett square. And we multiply it by the mother's chance to be a carrier, and this will be equal to 1 out of 40. And that is the final answer for this. So remember, if we're talking about something that is lethal, life expectancy, this person is already deceased and it only affects one person out of the whole pedigree tree, then his mother has 2 out of 3 chance of carrying this mutant X chromosome. And that means that the sister, who's a first degree relative, has half a chance of that other sister, which is 1/3. But since this sister has one healthy son and only healthy son, she has no unhealthy sons, we have to do a Bayesian table where we take 1 divided by 2 by the power of the amount of healthy sons, and we get a new value, which is 1 in 5. So 1 divided by 5, what is half of that? Half of that is going to go to her daughter. That's 1 divided by 10. And then we use that to calculate the probability for this kid to be affected. So 1 in 10 times 1 in 4, which is equal to 1 in 40. Next question. We have X-linked recessive, so we can immediately confirm that. Approximately 8% of males are affected. So remember, as soon as we see something about population, it's almost the last rule, not really. Rule number 7, if a woman comes from population and the question states population frequency of illness, then assume the illness frequency is Q, not Q by the power of 2, and solve for 2PQ. So let's go down right here. This we will assume is immediately Q. So 8% is 8 in 100, and this can be shortened to 4 in 25. Oop. Sorry, 4 in 50. Wait a minute. You can shorten it by 4, not by 2. So we shorten this by 4. That's going to be 8% of males are affected. Just looking at my calculations. 8% of males is 8, so it has to be 2 out of 25. Why did I write 1 out of 25? That makes no sense. Oh well, 2 out of 25, right? Now we know that this is equal to P. Not P by the power of 2, only P. We also know that P plus Q is equal to 1. So if we take 1 minus... Oh, sorry, this is not P, this is Q. Why did I assume it was P? this is q. So if we take 1 minus q, that's equal to p. So we take 1 minus 2 out of 25. That will be equal to 23 out of 25. Let me just see if I'm making a mistake on the way. I don't think so. Pretty sure we're doing the right thing. One minus 8 equals 92. Just give me a second. Ah, okay, I see. And this we can approximately say is 1. So P is almost always equal to 1. Now that we know P and we know Q, we can get a value of 2PQ, which will be 2 times 2 by the divided by 25 times 1, right? Which is equal to 4 divided by 50. And this can be simplified to 2 divided by 25. I believe that is true. Or am I wrong? Let's see here, 2PQ. I actually don't. 4 out of 25? How did I get 4 out of 25 there? I must have made a mistake along the way. Okay, let's not. Sorry, guys. I'm very tired. I want to do this in one try. So let's not simplify this, but we do know that this is equal to q. So that far we know. That we also know that p equals 1 minus q. So in this case, it would be 1 minus 8 over 100. That is equal to 92 over 100. And we can simplify that to 1. So we got 1 on that, and we got 8 out of 100 for q, and this for p. So we can take 2 times 8 out of 100 times 1 to get 2PQ. 2PQ. And that is equal to 16 over 100. And now we divide that by 4. And that is equal to 4 out of 25. See, now we're doing it correctly. How the hell did we get 2 out of 25? I think I did something wrong by simplifying it. All right. But this is correct, okay? So all the women that come from the population has a 4 out of 25 chance to be affected. So it would be this woman, 2PQ. She's from population. She doesn't have any other siblings or parents. So she has 4 out of 25 chance. It would also be this woman. She has 4 out of 25 chance because she's from population. This woman is not from population. She's part of this pedigree tree, and this woman is also not from population. All right. Now the question is, estimate the probability for his granddaughter 3, 4, this girl right here, to be carrier of the mutation. Now remember what we said about male who are affected, or fathers who are affected. If a father is a carrier sick, there is 100% chance that his daughter will inherit the recessive X and 0% chance that his son will inherit it. Why? Because the daughter has to get 1 X from a mom and 1 X from the dad, and the only X the dad has to give to the daughter is the affected X. So that is why the daughter will be 100% affected. Or not affected, she will be 100% a carrier. So let's scroll down to the daughter of this person right here. He is 100% a carrier, and because the daughter has to receive the X from her dad, she will also be 100% a carrier. Do we do Bayesian table for her? I mean, we can see that she has a son that is not sick, right? So shouldn't we do a Bayesian table? Remember when Bayesian tables are used. Bayesian tables are used when we see healthy sons, but we also unsure of the probability that a mother is a carrier. In her case, we're 100% sure that she is a carrier because the fact that her father is a carrier, in that case, she must have 100% gotten the X that affected her dad. Now, for this woman right here, what is the chance for her to be a carrier? We, of course, only take half the chance of her. So it's going to be 1/2. That is the answer to this question. For his son, 2-5, in a marriage with a female from the same population, to have affected child. So we're talking about 2-5, we're talking about this guy and a woman from the population. And we already calculated the population frequency chance to be heterozygous, which is 4 out of 25. It just took us a while to get there. Sorry, guys. So what is the chance for this male to be carrying this X-linked illness? We know it's 0 by 2 things, mainly. The first thing is that he is not colored. So if he had that X chromosome, he would 100% be affected, because remember, if there's only one X for the guys, if that X is unhealthy, then the whole karyotype will be unhealthy, and therefore the guys will be affected. So in his case, he's not colored, so he will have a 0% chance. But also, the only thing that he gets from his dad is a healthy Y. So therefore, he's gonna be healthy. He's not gonna get the X from his dad, because he has to get the X from his mom. Therefore, if he gets the X from his mom, he will be getting the Y from his dad, because he is a male. Therefore, he will get Y from dad and X from mom. They're asking about affected child, so they're talking about this kid who hasn't been born yet. And remember, affected child, there's 1 in 4 chance for a child to be affected. Why? Let's look at the Punnett square again. For a child to be affected, it has to be male, and it has to inherit a recessive X. And in the Punnett square, the only way for that to happen is if you're of this karyotype. So that's 1 out of 4 in total. So scrolling down, you can see here 1 out of 4, and we can multiply it by the mother's chance to be affected using the population equation, which is 4 out of 25, and that will be equal to 4 out of 100, which can be simplified by dividing this by 4. That's 1 in 25. So there's 1 in 25 for this child to be born a male, and to be born inheriting that X chromosome, meaning to be born ill or affected. I'm just double checking with my answer. Yep, that is true. Now that's all for these examples. I'm gonna go to bed now. I hope you guys enjoyed these videos. Maybe I'll do something for Colloquium 2, that depends. We'll see if I even have the time to do so. Hope you guys have a good one, and good luck on your colloquiums.